Once upon a time, in a valley surrounded by high blue mountains, there was a little village called Noorabad. The people of Noorabad were kind, hardworking, and lived close to nature. Among them was a curious boy named Rouf. Rouf was 10 years old, with bright eyes that always seemed to be searching for secrets the world kept hidden. He loved asking questions, climbing trees, and listening to old stories from his grandmother. His grandmother, Oma Bibi, was famous in Noorabad for her storytelling. Every night, children from the village would gather in her courtyard to hear magical tales. But Rouf wanted more than just tales. He wanted to live a story himself. He often told his best friend Sanor, "One day, we will have our own adventure." Sanor was a brave girl with long braids and a quick smile. She loved to run across the meadows, faster than any boy in the village. Together, Rouf and Sanor dreamed of exploring the mountains. Their parents always warned them, "The mountains are full of mysteries. Stay close to the village." But the more they were warned, the stronger their curiosity grew. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Rouf noticed a flicker of strange light coming from the forest nearby. It wasn't a fire, nor was it a lantern. It glowed softly, like a star had fallen to earth. He tugged Sonor's hand and whispered, "Do you see that?" Sonor nodded, her eyes wide. "Maybe it's a spirit," she said, half scared, half excited. But Rouf grinned, "Or maybe it's the beginning of our adventure." They decided to follow the light. As they crept through the tall grass, the sound of crickets filled the air. The light moved slowly, leading them deeper into the forest. They walked past old oak trees, their branches twisting like giant arms. The air grew cooler, and the forest seemed alive with whispers. Finally, they reached a small clearing. In the middle stood a crystal stone glowing with silver light. Sanor gasped, "It's beautiful." Rouf touched the stone gently. The moment his fingers brushed against it, the stone pulsed with light and a soft voice filled the air. "Seekers of courage, you have been chosen." The children looked at each other, startled. The voice continued, "The valley is in danger. Shadows are rising. Only the brave can protect Noorabad." Before they could ask anything, the ground trembled. Out of the shadows crawled a creature shaped like smoke. It had glowing red eyes and sharp claws. Sanor clutched Rouf's arm. But Rouf, though frightened, stood tall. The crystal stone's light burst out, forming a protective shield around them. The smoky creature hissed and vanished into the darkness. The voice said, "You are safe for now. But the shadows will return. To defeat them, you must find the lost crown of Noor." The stone dimmed, leaving only silence. Rouf and Sanor ran back to the village. They told Oma Bibi everything. Instead of laughing, Oma Bibi looked serious. She whispered, "So it begins again." The children leaned closer. Oma Bibi explained, "Long ago, Noorabad was protected by a magical crown. It was lost when greed and fear divided the people. Since then, shadows have lingered in the mountains." Rouf asked, "Do you know where the crown is?" Oma Bibi shook her head. "But the legends say it lies in the Cave of Echoes, guarded by trials of courage and friendship." Sanor declared, "Then we must find it." Rouf agreed instantly. Though their parents would never allow it, the children decided the safety of Noorabad was more important. The next morning, they prepared secretly. Rouf packed a small bag with bread, dried figs, and a flask of water. Sonal carried a slingshot, a rope, and a little notebook where she loved to draw. They set out at dawn, when the mist still kissed the fields. Birds sang overhead as if cheering them on. The path to the Cave of Echoes was long and unknown. They crossed meadows filled with wildflowers. They waded through streams, their shoes soaked but spirits high. They climbed rocky hills where eagles circled above. On the third day, they reached the edge of the dark forest at the foot of the mountains. Here, they met someone unexpected. A boy about their age was sitting on a rock, playing a wooden flute. He had messy hair, sharp eyes, and a sly smile. "Who are you?" Aurum asked. The boy replied, "Name's Zion. And I know where you're going." Sonal frowned. "How could you know that?" Zion shrugged, "Because I've been waiting for someone brave enough. The shadows grow stronger each day. You need me." Though Aurum was unsure, Sonal said, "Fine. Come with us. But no tricks." Zion grinned. "Tricks are my specialty." Together, the three of them entered the forest. The trees were so tall they blocked out the sun. Strange noises echoed all around. At one point, they heard a low growl. Out of the bushes leapt a wolf with silver fur. Sonal reached for her slingshot. But Zion raised his flute. He played a soft tune. And to their amazement, the wolf calmed down. It wagged its tail and walked beside them like a guardian. Aurum was impressed. "Okay, maybe we do need you," he admitted. Zion winked, "Told you." As they went deeper, the forest tested them. They came across a river too wide to cross. Sonal suggested using her rope to swing across. Aurum went first, nervous but determined. He made it safely. Sonal followed, landing gracefully. But Zion slipped halfway. For a terrifying moment, he dangled above the rushing water. Aurum and Sonal pulled together, shouting encouragement. And finally dragged him up. Panting, Zion said, "Guess. I owe you." Aurum smiled. "That's what friends are for." At night, they camped under the stars. The silver wolf curled up beside them, keeping watch. Zion played his flute while Sonal sketched constellations in her notebook. Aurum lay awake, thinking of Noorabad, the crystal stone, and the dangers ahead. He whispered to himself, "We can do this." The next day, they finally reached the mountains. The Cave of Echoes loomed like a giant mouth. Inside, their voices bounced back strangely, whispering words they didn't say. The first trial awaited them. A bridge of stone stretched over a bottomless pit. But halfway across, shadow creatures rose, hissing and clawing. The children clutched hands, remembering Omar Bibi's words, "Friendship is your strength." Together, they shouted each other's names with courage. Their voices echoed, turning into powerful waves that pushed the shadows back. They crossed safely. In the second chamber, they faced illusions. Aurum saw his parents crying, telling him to come home. Sonal saw a storm tearing Noorabad apart. Zion saw himself alone, abandoned. But they remembered the wolf, the flute, the rope, the sketches, symbols of their bond. Holding hands, they walked through the illusions, which shattered like glass. Finally, they reached the heart of the cave. There, on a pedestal, lay the lost crown of Noor. It shone with golden light, covered in tiny stars. But as Aurum reached for it, A giant shadow rose, larger than any they had faced. It boomed, "You are not worthy." The children trembled, but did not run. So now step forward. We are not perfect, but we are brave. Oram added, "We fight not for ourselves, but for our people." Zion raised his flute and played a tune that carried their hope. The wolf howled in harmony. The shadow screamed, shrinking smaller and smaller until it vanished completely. The crown floated into the air. It placed itself gently on Oram's head. The cave filled with golden light. And the voice of the crystal stone returned, "You have proven courage, friendship, and sacrifice. Noorabad is safe." The children returned to their village as heroes. The crown was placed in the center of Noorabad, where its light kept the shadows away forever. The villagers celebrated for days. Oram, Sanaa, and Zion became known as the guardians of Noor. But they didn't let pride change them. They still played in the meadows, still listened to Omar Bibi's stories, and still dreamed of new adventures. And every night, when the stars sparkled above Noorabad, Oram whispered, "The world is full of mysteries, and we are ready for them."